Welcome to the podcast series during Retail Media Summit UK presented by Kevel. We're recording live from the event in London, and I'm your host, Collin Colburn from the IAB. And in this series, we're sitting down with some of the industry's most forward-looking leaders to unpack what is next in commerce media. Today's episode zeroes in on a different kind of retail media story, one that's rooted in convenience, community, and attention. Co-op Media Network has quietly been showing how small format stores can pack a big marketing punch, and they recently partnered with Lumen Research on a study that makes that case loud and clear. Retail media in convenience stores delivers materially more visibility, attention, and brand recall than larger formats. Ellie's going to get into more of that in just a second, and we're going to talk a little bit about what it means to turn the convenience mindset into better planning, creative, and brand outcomes. Ellie Prendergast is my guest. She's the retail media lead at Co-op Media Network and also the founder of Women in Retail Media. Ellie, thank you for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
You want to start with, for those who might not be familiar with Co-op Media Network, you want to give kind of like the 30,000 foot overview of who you guys are?
If I zoom out a little bit in terms of Co-op as a convenience retailer, we are the UK's #1 convenience retailer, so we really know convenience. We know that our shoppers shop across 9 other retailers. We know that our range is bespoke across different areas of the UK. We're in every postcode in the UK. We know that our customers are really very different in convenience than they are in big box retailers. So the question came up of why would you advertise the same in a big box retailer as you would in a convenience store when the customers and the mission are completely different? So we actually built Co-op Media Network off the expertise we have as a convenience retailer. And we actually saw an opportunity, but a genuine opportunity, to split the retail media market even further into those genuinely different missions. So instead of online and in-store, you actually have online and quick commerce, and you have in-store and you have convenience, because those missions are completely different. Co-op customers shop on average in 9 other retailers. So you're not just focused on a co-op customer, you're focused on a co-op customer and 9 of those other retailers. So the opportunity is huge. So it's not just trying to add complexity to make ourselves look better. And we're not saying actually that you need to advertise at a convenience network instead of a big box retailer. We think you should do both. Actually, it can massively amplify the campaigns that you have at a big box retailer. So our message and the reason that we think that the industry should be split into big box and convenience is because they complement each other really well, and it should be what are you doing in big box and what are you doing in convenience, because ultimately you're going to reach that customer at more touch points and both are going to win.
Right. It's kind of like almost brands need to align what they're doing from a distribution perspective. Like, why do you want to have distribution into a convenience store? Well, because to your point, people are sometimes in that more quick commerce kind of mode than they are doing their big haul shopping for the week. Right?
Exactly, yeah, and we know that we win when it comes to MPD, and it's all about consumer behaviour. When you're going on a convenience mission, you're more likely to pick up a product that you haven't bought before because you haven't always gone in with a plan. So you might pick something up from a shelf because it is on an end, because there is an ad, and also you might be going in for bread, but you might normally have a specific brand when you go to a big box retailer, but when you go into a convenience store because you need bread, because you've forgotten to get bread and you need to do the sandwiches for the kids' lunch the next day, you don't care what brand it is, you just need bread.
Just need it.
And then
Been there, done that.
Yeah, and then you enjoy the bread and then you might buy it next time. So it really does complement the big box retailers. But it really is completely different, and we should recognise that when we're looking at our plans.
Given that difference in behavior of the consumer, the shopper, how do the formats that you guys use, especially I'm especially curious in the store, how do you think about those, and how do you see them as different than what other retailers are offering?
It's interesting actually, because there is a lot of touch points. So I come from a big box retailer before convenience as well that is the same and have different names, so it can be quite complicated. But they do slightly different jobs. Even the same touch point can have a different job. You've got act fixture media that obviously is going to drive conversion, but the difference with a convenience store is we've got multiple categories in one aisle. So you could have a shelf talker in coffee, and in a big box retailer you're advertising to coffee buyers, But in a co-op store, in a convenience store, that aisle might also have biscuits in it. It might have a free-from range in it. It could have other ambient ranges in there. So actually you're not just advertising to a coffee buyer, you're advertising to other people as well. So I think we've got one of the largest toolkits because our stores are so unique. We have festival stores, for example, like they're completely different, and as well as mostly convenience stores, we do have some larger stores. So we have a huge toolkit that we can make sure that we have the right campaign for the right store as well. But we can have some similar touch points to big box, but they will be doing a slightly different job.
Yeah, so interesting. How do you see the brands leaning into not only your message and sort of your positioning, but also those formats and sort of the different sort of behaviors that they instill in shoppers? How do you see brands leaning into that?
The message is definitely landed with brands. I think some of the difficulty we have is that some brands can be siloed by retailers. So when we're saying you should go big box and co-op, there'll be different budgets, and so they can't always align them. It is definitely a change that we're seeing, and we're definitely starting to see some brands have more of a holistic view. But if you're targeted on a specific retailer or specific big box versus convenience, then you're going to focus your efforts and concentrate on those campaigns and those results. Whereas what we wanted to do, and this has definitely helped the conversation, is, I don't know if you've seen the halo analysis that we did with Circana. So we actually, through all of the research that we had as a convenience retailer, we hypothesized that if you are co-op customers on average shop across 9 other retailers. You go to a co-op more frequently, but you also go to other retailers as well. So if you want to target, if you've got an MPD or a product that you want to advertise and you're advertising it in a big box retailer, if you also advertise it in a co-op store, you're probably getting customers to see it 2-3 times more, because our members on average go into our stores over 2 times a week. We're the highest across all retailer in the UK when it comes to transactions. So if you want people to see it, you have to advertise in a co-op store. So we work with Circana because they have access to sales across the industry. And we wanted to prove that hypothesis that actually advertising in a co-op store does have a benefit in other retailers. And we did test versus control methodology so that we could see that, regardless of price, promotion, range or anything, that if we advertised in this co-op store, these retailers also benefited. And we did a couple of different categories as well, because we wanted to understand how it works cross category. We did confec, ice cream and beer. And the beer brand saw over 4 times the sale volume.
Wow. From
the sales uplift in the co-op store in the surrounding areas. But when you've got separate teams, that isn't always recognised. Yeah. So the halo analysis has really helped us to show the hypothesis around it. And it's helped a lot of brands internally have that conversation about, actually, we should connect the dots here. And I'll bring it back to, it's not you should just advertise in convenience. It's about doing both. And I think having the research behind our message definitely helps.
It's about the connected story that brands want to be able to tell.
Yes.
It's physical, digital, it's multi-retailer, it's multi-channel.
Exactly.
Whatever we call that now. I know multi-channel, omni-channel, they're all out. I don't know what we call it anymore. But I'm curious, the Lumen research that Andrew Lipsman, who presented earlier today, what stands out most to you as a convenience retailer and the things that you want to land most with the brands that you work with?
So it comes back a little bit to the example I shared earlier. In a convenience store, it's a lot more compact, and some people might see that as, it's a busy store, maybe you aren't going to recognise the advertising quite as much as you would in a big box retailer. But the benefit that we have is multiple categories on an aisle. If you walk into a big box retailer for milk, you might go down 1 or 2 aisles, but you go into a convenience store, you might walk around the entire store and put a lot of things in your basket that you potentially you weren't actually going in for, but you can see those ads more. And again, we wanted to work with someone like Lumen because we wanted to prove this hypothesis that we had. We thought that actually our compact stores were more of a benefit than they were a complexity, and that's exactly what we did with them. We did the eye tracking campaign so that we could see what our customers are looking at and what they would recall as well. So we actually sent them in with a mission. They had no brief to look at any media. We wanted them to walk around the store and we wanted to pick up what they were looking at and the attention that they had. And actually the results we got was there was double the visibility, so opportunity to see for them walking around the store because they covered more of the store. Yep. They had triple the attention, so when they were looking at the actual ads, they had triple the attention than a large store. And there's a few hypotheses around that. A little bit is because there's so much in the store, we actually hypothesize that they're using them a little bit to get around the store and actually see the categories that are there.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then we did brand recall at the end, and that was quadrupled the recall actually from a small store to a large store as well, which was phenomenal to see.
Fantastic. Yeah, those are such interesting learnings, and I think things that any brand can take back, internally to be able to justify not only like the spend, but also like why, to your point that you've made a couple of times, why we need to be connecting what we're doing across different retailers, because they serve different goals depending on what you're trying to do. I want to get into women in retail media.
Yes.
Your journey there thus far has been one I think that's been super interesting. What's the one challenge that you guys are looking to solve for, going into 2026 as we're kind of wrapping up this year?
I would say it's probably support. And I know that is quite broad, but creating women in retail media last year, I've met so many people that have so many issues. And I'm not trying to say that there is loads of issues out there in the industry, but there's so many different issues. And I think there is some businesses are doing it really right and they have the right support, and other businesses it's just not there. And it's not necessarily for lack of wanting, but I think there is just some topics that aren't talked about and potentially people don't feel comfortable talking about. And I think if there was more support there across the industry, then there would be more equal support as well.
Yeah.
And I think the group itself, with the events that we've run and the connections a lot of people have made, has almost created a peer-to-peer support. And obviously it would be amazing we're looking to share more of this with businesses, and we're looking to open a dialogue with people to get that into business. But having peer-to-peer support has been really useful for people. They've got someone they can talk about. All of our events, the feedback that we get is that it's just really comfortable. People can talk about anything. A lot of things at networking events you wouldn't talk about, some really hard subjects like miscarriage or PCOS or like topics like that. And I think it can make a lot of people uncomfortable potentially, but actually it's really like, if you want to get the most out of your team, you need to be able to discuss any issues that might be affecting their work, and if they want to talk to you about it, making sure that people are prepared for it. And I think opening up the peer-to-peer dialogue has helped raise it and made a lot of people feel more comfortable talking about it. And then it's just how we can get more of the industry prepared to support as well.
What awesome work. I love the openness, and it's kind of like you started with support. You're not only supporting your members, but you're getting support from them as well in terms of being able to even do this, right? It takes a village to be able to have an open dialogue like that.
Yeah, exactly.
What's next for you guys going into next year? What are some of the big things you'd like to accomplish, whether it's awards or anything of the like that?
Well, a full calendar hopefully will be coming out soon.
Awesome.
But
Keep your eye on that.
Yeah. We've got 3 main pillars outside of the awards actually. So we will be doing the awards again next year. But we have public speaking. So we did 2 public speaking masterclasses last year. We want to focus on getting more women on the stage. But I think one of the barriers is actually having more women happy to get on a stage. And that's where the public speaking masterclass comes in. We have a really safe space for people to do a little bit of training and to get comfortable and like peek behind the curtain about like tips and tricks about getting on a stage. And then we work with industry events to get those people slots, because I think it's one thing getting the slots, but if you don't have people that are willing to take them up, then you don't get more women on a stage. Similarly, we want to really focus on our careers pillar next year, so we're going to be looking at running some boot camps across the year to get people geared up to like, I think there's a little bit of like, how do you get into different parts of the industry as well? And it's like peeking behind the curtain, like if we all share, it makes it easier. And I think there's a lot more opportunities for women as well. And then networking, like this has been really the core of this year, and making connections. I've met so many amazing women, and I come to an event like today and I see them all in the room. Other people have said this as well, but when you walk into a room and you see one of the wormers across it, you have an instant connection and you instantly feel comfortable in a room where you don't know anyone else. But actually one of the more recent things that we've looked at is we do a lot of in-person stuff. And sometimes, especially if you're like a caregiver, you can't get to things. So actually, how can we elevate people online as well?
Mm-hmm.
But we're learning as we go. And every time I meet someone, they give me an amazing new idea or a new insight into another area. So we're going to have a full plan for next year, but we're still going to see what comes up and see like what people need.
Sounds like you guys are not busy at all over there.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to being able to support. How can other folks out there support or find more information about you guys?
So you can follow us on LinkedIn. We are Women in Retail Media. We also have a website, womeninretailmedia.co.uk, and you can get in touch via email and you can find out more about any of our awards, speaking opportunities. We also have a sign-up sheet for speaking opportunities as well, which you can ignore my email is what I say, but I will send you the opportunity. So you can take it up if you're ready, but I will email. So yeah, just follow and get in touch.
Fantastic. Ellie, what a great conversation. I think really 3 big takeaways for me. 1, convenience really does hold a special place in the commerce media ecosystem. 2, if you're a brand out there, you really have to be thinking about how can you create a connective story between what you're doing in places like big box, other, larger retailers, and what you're doing, and maybe you're not even doing in a convenience store that you should be doing. And then 3, this Women in Retail Media initiative is an awesome thing that I think everyone should be supportive of and taking part in. So Ellie, thanks again for joining me.
Thanks for having me.